Orgasmic enlightenment, where the sexual and spiritual come together. I'm Kim Anami, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach and a vaginal weightlifter. In this show, we explore all things intimate. I believe that our sexual energy is life force, creative energy, and we can use it to shape our worlds, strengthen our relationships, and self-actualize. I blend the most avant-garde information from neuroscience, ancient sexual practices like Tantra and Taoism, to renegade wellness modalities to show you how to create gourmet sex in your lives. Come one, come all. Ecstatic, Nipple-gasms, and breast-orgasms. I was on my epic 6-day sex date a number of years back, and over the course of these 6 days, my lover and I kept a constant sexual simmer. So there was plenty of sexual affection interspersed throughout the moments when we weren't actually in bed, and we were in bed a lot. So as we were getting dressed for yoga, we would kiss. As I would lock the door to the room, I would lightly brush his groin through his shorts. Before we stepped out onto the path, he would rub my breasts. In the onslaught of that intense love and sexual contact that was constant, I felt my breasts grow and radiate. They felt alive and conscious and like they were taking in information like another sensory organ. And I'd never felt that before, this sentient awareness in my breasts, like my eyes, like my fingers. They and I were interacting with the world in a whole new way. And it was like this barrier had come down in me, in my heart, and I was feeling my entire chest and my breasts open to the world. They were fluttering and bursting with pleasure all of the time. So in today's episode, I want to launch right into our Well Fucked All-Star segment. Amanda is going to be sharing on how she went from being a sexually closed, non-orgasmic, as in not having any orgasms, to having the full Orgasmopedia range of orgasmic experiences, including nipple and breast-gasms, which we will focus on today. So she describes her journey of what she did, and then after that, I will break down the steps. Well Fucked All-Stars! Welcome, Amanda. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, so I would love to hear about your journey of breast self-discovery and how that led to you having breast and nipple orgasms.
Yes, magical nipple-gasms, like one of the other impossible things that, women surely can't experience. But of course, as I found out, it's totally true and possible.
So
And
do you mean to say that you initially like maybe had heard of them and wondered if they were possible or didn't even know about them?
I definitely didn't know about them as being like, I guess, a real thing. Like I remember totally growing up, like hearing that women really enjoyed like having their nipples played with and stuff, but I never heard like a nipple-gasm.
Right,
So I definitely didn't think it was like in the category, of possible orgasms for sure.
right. So how did that open up to you then?
Yeah, so for me, like my entire sexual journey like started with your work. Like I took both the Well Fucked Woman and Vaginal Kung Fu, and so for me, yeah, it totally started with the Well Fucked Woman, and actually the whole connection with my breasts, I feel like was really the gateway to opening up the rest of my whole sexual experience. Like basically by the end of doing your work, I totally became like, I went from never ever having an orgasm to becoming multi-orgasmic in a really short period of time, which completely surprised me because when I discovered your work, I just was not in a good place sexually. So I really I didn't, I didn't see how I could get there, but I definitely did. And for me, like probably the biggest gateway was actually the relationship with my breasts, like regular dedicated breast massage, like just as you recommended, is like really core to your work. Like I that was kind of my first gateway to really beginning to feel sexual pleasure, which I hadn't felt in a long time. Like just to give you a little insight into my life at that time. My husband and I were both working like crazy, going to school, all that stuff, and we had a really young son. And our sex life was like basically at a standstill. It just was, there was nothing going on, like really resentful, and it just was not good. So like knew that this was something that I needed to do. And yeah, like I was just kind of like, how am I going to feel, this pleasure and stuff that she talked about? And like I said, for me, I think that the biggest gateway was definitely the breast. I actually started to feel pleasure by massaging my breasts like really regularly and feeling that sense of self-love that you talk about. Like the breasts are representative of nurturing and all that and your own love for yourself. And it just really helped me to reflect on, I guess, how much self-love I was not giving myself, especially that time in my life, like having a really young son, like I, working so crazy, I was just like completely and utterly depleted. So yeah, like at that time in my life, like when I think back to what my breasts, like physically looked like, they looked exactly as depleted as I felt. Like they were super duper, super saggy, like really small. They had shrunken actually a little bit. And when I started to do the breast massage and like really, really intentional, like really trying actively, to give myself that self-love, they completely changed. Their physical form actually changed as well. Like I actually said, cause you just, you kind of talk about the whole concept of like infinite possibility and just like really, really, really using your intention. So I was like, I'm going to grow my breasts, like I'm going to grow them like a whole size just to see. And they totally did. They got way fuller. They grew an entire cup size. And so that was, great on a physical level, but, they just like they actually started to feel pleasurable to me, which was really shocking because that was actually even earlier on in mine and my husband's relationship where we did have like a decent sex life and I enjoyed it. I still didn't really want my breasts to be touched. That just wasn't like a sexual part of my body, which is totally wrong. So yeah, that just kind of continued. It actually was some time before I actually experienced like nipple-gasms because that really wasn't something I guess I was maybe trying to have for a while. So basically what happened is I went through the well-fucked woman and then I did BKF like when that came around the following year.
So
And just like
VKF being
even
vaginal kung fu for the
oh
newbies
yes,
around
yes.
Anami Land.
Vaginal
Yeah.
kung fu. Yeah. I know. We speak in acronyms if you're used to her
Well,
work.
I
Yeah.
was just thinking before, like, well, I paused you here, is like when you talk about your former self, like, oh, I didn't think of breasts as being part of me and the sexual experience. It's like really hard to imagine you as that person knowing who you are now, right? And how like open and sexually exuberant you are and what a radiant person you are. It's hard to imagine that, like a more
It's
closed version.
hard for me to remember. Like, it's like, oh my God, like so much wasted time. Like, I feel like I had the same, relationship, I guess, with my breasts that most women do nowadays. It's just they're objects. They're not really for pleasure. Like, and again, this I can't speak for everybody, but I remember feeling like, oh, like those people that feel like nipple, like pleasure, like how weird. Like it felt like kinky to me when it's just a
Wow.
completely natural, beautiful thing that really is a normal thing. Like you always say, like all of this incredible pleasure that you talk about that our whole body can really feel like that really should be normal, including breast pleasure and nipple pleasure. So yeah, like I always like after taking well-fucked woman, like definitely had breast massage as a regular part of my day, and they just continued to activate. Like they just felt amazing, physically. Um, they I really felt like I guess kind of like an armor, like of course they're with me all the time, but like having them with me, felt like an armor pretty much. Like it just felt I felt like I could really stand so much taller and really be myself, and totally like I literally cannot wear bras anymore. Like it just feels like wrong to have them. Like they're so activated now.
So I'm going to challenge you on the word armor. Like maybe because armor I almost think of as like a defense or protection in a negative way versus maybe we phrase that as a positive armor, which is what I think you're saying, right? Like a positive strength or protection or way of protecting you out in the world without cutting you off from the world. Because I think that for some women, even who, and there can be this reverse hyperbole of like really wanting everyone to look at their breasts in a way that's not even very authentic, right? It's more of an attention seeking. They become almost this negative armor versus having them as this beautiful, luscious, kind of open experience interacting with the world, but they are supporting you and strengthening you.
Totally. And that's actually a really good distinction. So I guess just to even share like how they look to me in my own mind, like they look like these kind of like gold shimmery, like breasts, I guess, but they feel like they're literally lifting me up. So yeah, like I don't know if armor is the best word, but it just like on a deeper, I guess more soul level, like I feel way more strong and confident when I am in tune with my breasts. So it does feel like an armor, but
Like a
not
spiritual
not
armor, maybe. Yeah.
and yeah, so like a good example of that is also during that time in my life, I had like what I would have viewed as the most terrifying job in the world, which was a door-to-door canvassing job. I got this like job selling like organic produce subscriptions to your door, and that was something that I always thought was like literally the worst thing you could do for a job ever. But I really challenged myself with what I was learning from you, with just, yeah, like your sexual energy, like really becoming this, like, you just don't care about what people think about you anymore. And you just feel so much more, confident and whole inside. So, like, for me, like that type of job would have been, well, actually was when I signed up, just like the most terrifying thing, like going up to strangers and trying to sell them something that you don't know if they want. And I do remember literally like walking up, to each home and like feeling my breasts, like not at all in like you just mentioned, like in a showy way, but it was for me. Like I felt like I don't care what happens, like in speaking to this person, like I feel amazing. And I literally did. Like when I look at them, like to me, they look shimmery. They look like either like silver, gold, like shimmer. And I just always felt very, whole no matter what. And that sexual power that I felt like really carried on even in that way, because I actually did amazing in my job. Like I was one of the top like sales people of this job that I thought was terrifying. So, like it just, all this work that you talk about really does translate into your outer life as well. So that's like a little bit about that. But so yeah, like just continued on my journey. Then I ended up taking vaginal kung fu as well, and just like even further connecting with my breasts, because you have like, the whole other section about that in the salon. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think my relationship with my breasts could get even better than it did. And they just continue to feel like more and more activated. That's like the best word that I can think of. They just felt, they felt like an actual part of me finally, like not just like these flabby things that I used to kind of view them as, frankly. Like they really felt like they were for me. And really too,
Well, I
like,
think I was just going to say, like, I think that's really common in our culture because breasts are, especially in women, the most visible expression of sexuality, right? And they're often very on display, and there's, a lot of energy projected on them that I think doesn't come from the woman herself, right? Like of her own sexual desirability, of her viability, of her maturity, like whatever, right? All of these things get, and it's sort of like the most common, even in say media or TV or movies, like have naked breasts, like it's this titillation, right? That's coming from the breasts nonstop. So I think that most women will, evolve with a layer of something, some kind of projection that they've absorbed on top of her breasts.
yeah, well, again, like if you're not connected to them, it kind of feels like, who are these for? Like
Right.
that's what I remember kind of feeling like, are they for the world? Are they for my partner? Are they for me? But then obviously as I came to find, they're absolutely, for me, it's basically in-house made, medicine for yourself. Like when you're connected to them, like just so many things happen that you really wouldn't, expect. And like they're just like, for me, like when, if ever, there's a time where I'm feeling down or anything like that, or just disconnected from life, it's a really great way to like just get right back, and to just to be fully embodied and feel like integrated again. If that's what I do when I feel disconnected, like the
You
breast and,
massage your
well,
breasts.
vagina. Yes, I get sad. I know. Maybe not that quickly, but yeah, totally. It's definitely related. So you go to the vagina and you go to the breasts when you're sad and you feel better.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
totally. So then, like again, at that point, I hadn't experienced like nipple-gasms yet, but they, as I mentioned, they were really starting to feel like way more activated, way more pleasurable, and actually finally, enjoyed them, uh, in sexual play with my husband, which I never had before. And so then also during this time, it was pretty soon after vaginal kung fu, I became pregnant for my second pregnancy. And I was completely blown away. Like that was my second pregnancy was probably one of, well, it is actually probably the most sexually powerful time in my whole life. Like I feel like I just desired myself kind of like a partner would. Like I totally fell in love like with myself and desired myself. And that was something that I absolutely did not feel in my first pregnancy. It was very, very disconnected the first time. So I feel like all of that work I had done, the previous like 9 months or whatever it was, just like I was activated, just fully, like I had just gotten rid of so much programming, whatever stuff was like stuck in my body, like it was gone, and just made space for all of this, pleasure and sensation and stuff to just arise pretty much. And one of the first things that happened like really early on, I think I was maybe only like a couple months pregnant or something like that. Like I'm not even kidding, like my breasts just started to throb with pleasure. I was like, just unprovoked, like I wasn't touching them, like nobody was touching them, and they just started on their own accord, just started to like to feel pleasurable as if somebody were touching them. And I God, there were times where I would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, like out of sleep, and they would be full of pleasure. So then I would have to breast, I would have to do the breast massage pretty much. And that's when I was like, okay, like this feels amazing. I'm gonna try this nipple-gasm thing and see what happens. Um, so I did. I spent like just tons of dedicated time massaging them, and like that really was the name of the game, honestly, was time. I just spent a ton of dedicated time, like the whole breast and then the nipple as well. Like I just focused a long time on the nipple, and I couldn't even like stop. It just felt so amazing to me. Like I just, I'm like, what's happening? I'm pregnant. Like this feels so good. Like what's happening? Like
I
I
want
said,
to
it's just so funny from being disconnected before to go into that.
Yeah. And I want to really highlight that because I think one of the dominant messages, especially with the Madonna whore conditioning, right, is especially when a woman becomes a mother that she becomes almost devoid of, or there's this huge taboo around sexuality, which then for most people starts during pregnancy. And I think that we've inherited this subconscious programming, and very conscious in some ways, that sex and motherhood are divorced. And I love instead hearing the journey of somebody who's consciously aiming to awaken their sexuality. And so then in the midst of that, when they do get pregnant, that their sexuality is even amplified. Like this becomes a portal for their own sexual development to be accelerated, right? And I think about the breasts and their role in breastfeeding and as these great alchemizers of things in the body and converting whatever we have in the body into this literal ambrosia, manna from heaven, right? Like this, the best possible food a human could eat that we create in the breasts, and that your breasts are just being, woken up. And the way you describe them is beautiful. These shimmery orbs and crystalline orbs, that these superpowers are being activated in them, and all this sexual pleasure, right? That if we're open to it, and I often think that some of the worst experiences, it's kind of like the idea of depression. Like it's often referred to as suppressed anger, right? That people who are depressed often have a lot of emotion, but particularly anger that they've, tried to stuff down, and then that manifests as depression, immobility. And that I think, say like in the example with pregnancy, that if there's all of this sexual energy that's naturally trying to come through, but if women have their own messaging and their partner messaging and society and family messaging, that's the opposite of what should happen, that they're actively or even subconsciously shutting that down. And then that manifests in stagnancy or difficult pregnancy or even postpartum depression or challenges in birth, like all of these things, because there's this effort to suppress that energy that is naturally there, and at a time when it's just on fire. Because your experiences mirror mine, right? When I was pregnant, like I was so hypersexual, had the same experiences with my breasts where they were just like this, had this mind and life and sex life of their own, right? Like constantly, voracious. And that it was just a beautiful, I was already into sex, but this just amplified everything. I was like, I want to be pregnant forever. Like, this is the best.
Exactly. I love that. I love what you said about having a sex life of their own, because that's what it felt like. Like, it felt like it kind of felt like breasts, or to me, like my breasts kind of feel like a separate entity in a way, but also obviously very integrated into my body. But yeah, it felt like being woken up by a lover. It was crazy. And yeah, like I totally agree with what you said too. Like with my, like I mentioned with my first pregnancy, it was just I was very out of tune with my sexuality. But I also like obviously had not done that sexual work beforehand, but total different experience this time. Like I just spent so much time like really, really working on myself in that way. And, I guess that's what I wonder with so many women who just think that they're not sexual during pregnancy. It's like, well, what was it like right before that, and how much intention was there beforehand, like with their sexuality. So for me, like I know the difference now, and I'm curious obviously to see what happens next time as well. Like
during the
just
next pregnancy.
what that's like. Yeah. And yeah, so like I said, so the nipple-gasm, like yeah, I just like literally couldn't help it. My breasts wanted to be played with, so I obliged. And they'd already been so, awakened, I guess, that it didn't take like terribly long to actually experience them. And kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier, like I'd never actually before you heard of a nipple-gasm. I definitely heard of pleasure before, but I guess I just wasn't sure if there was any kind of like a, that like over the edge type feeling, or expansion, maybe like, G-spot or cervical orgasms. I wasn't sure if it actually got to that level where it felt like a nipple-gasm as opposed to just a lot of pleasure, and yeah, like to me, like in my experience, there is like you have a nipple-gasm. Like it just feels like this very, very like, I guess it feels most similar to me in a way, maybe to G-spot. It's for me, it's very prolonged. Like it's definitely like markedly feels like a super heightened pleasure that lasts for like a long time, but also kind of like can get higher and continue. And then like at that point, this is probably other people's experiences too, but like you just get so turned on that you just then self-pleasure. If that's what I would do, then I would just like just continue the whole self-pleasuring session, but like start with a nipple-gasm, and in pregnancy too, I felt like that was just such a beautiful, gift to my growing child too. Like I thought it was really interesting actually that in pregnancy my breasts were so we're feeling that pleasurable because obviously the connection with breast milk and all of that. So it just felt like an entire preparation to having a really incredible breastfeeding, relationship with my baby and giving both of us that love from, having them so alive. And we've had an incredible breastfeeding journey. Our relationship is amazing. She's like the sweetest angel in the world. And yeah, the whole pregnancy was just like that.
Well, wanted to say too, like this idea of what you said, that the breasts are really giving love, right? Because you have inhabited your breasts with love, and they've been this journey to open up your heart and combine that energy, and that your breastfeeding experience then is really shifted. And I wonder if that's why a lot of women, most women, experience challenges with breastfeeding, or they don't have the same kind of joy, or they see it more of a duty, or they think they're supposed to do a certain amount of time and they try to get away with whatever they can, like rather than having this pure ecstasy through that experience. And I think there's also judgment and stigma around that, right, too, of having too much pleasure like through the breastfeeding experience. And I love that you said that, because it really, when you were saying that, gave me this visual of not just the physical components of breast milk, but the energy of love, the energy of radiance, the energy of all of these expansive feelings also being channeled through to the breast, to your baby, right? And I think that's the big thing that probably isn't in the common Western vocabulary to talk about, right? Like that kind of energetic gift that they're receiving through this work that you've done to really activate and open them and combine that with all this love energy, where probably for a lot of women, the energy that's then going through is their own insecurities, their own fear, their own frustration or disconnection with the breasts.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think it's a seriously, well, just unacknowledged, honestly, like it completely unacknowledged, like practice, or exercise to have, especially, well, for mothers in general, but the entire lactation, like breastfeeding conversation, like nobody talks about it. It's kind of like, if you think you have mastitis, like maybe massage your breast a little bit, that's literally kind of the only capacity where it's discussed. And there's no talk about doing it beforehand, like prepping, there's nothing about building that relationship beforehand, like at all. Maybe in some circles, like, but not really, it's not really discussed. And it's always like, it's always that, like a pathologized version, like again, like,
Right,
oh, you might have mastitis,
right.
so get rid of that block. It has nothing to do with self-love or love for the baby or any of that. None of that is talked about. And I obviously know from experience about how it's so easy in modern, society for mothers to feel so depleted. And this is a way for you to fill your own cup, so that you don't have that like massive burnout. It's a really good defense against all of that on a, emotional and physical level. And because yeah, breastfeeding is really, really demanding, especially in the beginning. And this just makes, in my view, in my experience, it makes the whole thing like just so much more joyous and like you mentioned, like much more of a connected experience, like with your baby. And really helped, I think, for me to have extended, a very extended breastfeeding relationship. So it's definitely, I think, something that needs to come up more in that whole circle.
Well, it bridges that very tentative or very unbridged set of subjects, which is motherhood and sexuality, right? So as soon as we're talking about the breast having any kind of pleasure and, healing capacity, and then mixing that with motherhood, we've just gone into forbidden territory, right? So how can't go there? But that really does seem like the secret, that I do think that women can get energetically and physically depleted through breastfeeding if they do not have any other energy coming in, whether that's self-nurturing, partner nurturing, support in their lives, and the immediate and accessible sources of breast energy and vagina, yoni energy, and tapping into that and then being able to use it to rejuvenate ourselves and then pass along that energy to our baby.
Yes. And I have to reference one of your other podcasts because it just makes me laugh. But it was one of the birthing podcasts with Yvonne, and she mentions like, just massaging her breasts like in front of her doctor, and she was just like, well, gotta leave the room, and she just did not care. And I think that's like absolutely the attitude that women need to have, about their touching themselves and needing that for themselves, and being like, well, if you don't like it, then you can leave, because we need that. It's essential medicine, for women in general and mothers. So
absolutely. I love that. So you had also spoken about how the breasts, I love that you talk about them being the gateway and they really help to open the door to your sexuality overall. And you also mentioned how they were also a portal to the deeper vaginal orgasm. So once you kind of got on that train of the breast pleasure, that helped lubricate the path towards the deeper like cervical orgasms.
Definitely. So yeah, because there just is like the breast, there's like a heart connection. And as you teach, like the cervix is also related to the heart. So it only makes sense that they would they would open, that the whole cervix area would open too. So yeah, I think a definite gateway to that as well. Like, because what I noticed too is like when I'm really in tune with my breasts, and definitely during, the pregnancy that I'm talking a lot about, like the cervical orgasms just come even just so much easier and faster. Like I know they can take a lot of time, but it's pretty easy for me to just kind of have them, and it really is. It's all related. And I feel like, especially like I was mentioning, like, I would be massaging my breasts, when I was pregnant and all that. And then I would self-pleasure. And just like I mentioned, like I just felt so open, like so well lubricated. I needed, to have sex or self-pleasure or whatever. And like I said, it just took so little time, I guess, to get to those places. Like that's a huge difference that I noticed, is when I am connected to them in that way. The deeper vaginal ones, they happen more quickly and more of them, I suppose. And definitely, I would also say that I've experienced full body orgasms as a result of my breasts. Like what I've felt and what I've noticed is just when you are, massaging them and activating them and they're feeling all pleasurable, you just feel like so much energy, like moving through your body. And, yeah, like I have at times just experienced a full body orgasm just from that, just super like radiating like out of your body. And because obviously as you teach like clitoral orgasms, there's just a very marked and like easy kind of like drop off feeling, but it's not like that with the breasts at all. It's very, very expansive and doesn't have that drop. So yeah, definitely all related.
I love it. And I just think this practice of connecting into the breast and seeing that there is so much potential there, right? Where it can seem like this latent or dormant part of ourselves, just like the vagina can seem. And yet when we place our attention there and we have the intention to open and awaken and activate, there's so much richness there for us, not to mention off the charts orgasmic pleasure. So, yeah, it's so inspiring. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share that we haven't covered?
We haven't covered. I think we pretty much covered it all.
A lot.
I just would like to say that it's real. It's definitely real. And yeah, I think as a quote unquote tip, like I mentioned, like a lot of it is just time. Like I said, like I didn't actually experience this kind of orgasm until many months later. And after I had become so completely activated and really spent just really intentional time trying to get there. And so the more that you know, keep trying, it's really inevitable. It really kind of is just a matter of time and how much you're actually going to stay committed to doing that for yourself and not like expecting it to happen, but just continuing to give yourself that love and that essential, you know, medicine. And then it'll definitely happen.
If you build it,
I've
they
gone
will
from
come.
experience. Exactly. I mean, I went from literally never having any kind of orgasm to all of them. So I'm a really good example.
Becoming an orgasmopedia.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's if you build it, they will come. And sometimes when I see, you know, short little 3-4 minute videos on technique, and it's like, this is how to get a G-spot orgasm, or this is how to have breast orgasm. It's like, okay, well, yes, you can rub your fingers in that way, but if you haven't done all of this other preliminary preparation work and you haven't opened yourself to a certain degree, you can have all the physical technique in the world, and that is not going to get you there. And so all of this other stuff is laying the foundation to really open yourself up and prepare you to be able to have these deeper experiences, like clearing out your energy fields, opening up your meridians, clearing any kind of blockages you have, whether they're emotional, energetic, mental, spiritual, physical, and then paving the way for these things to happen. So you put in the beautiful, fun play practice and you reap the rewards.
Yes, you have to surrender to the possibilities. Like when I, you know, originally took your work, I was like, you just talked about this incredible sexual world that was, you know, available. And I was like, well, I want that, you know? So it's just like, you just have to know that you can have that too. Like I kind of take that view with a lot of different things. I'm like, well, somebody else did it. Like, why can't I do it? You know? So just really completely being open, like that's what I found in my experience in all the orgasms really is just like completely letting go. And then they actually come to you way quicker. So
And that's a whole art in itself, the art cultivating, letting go and opening and surrender, which is a massive challenge for a lot of people. And to be clear too, what Amanda said about this was available, when I say this is available for people, I say it's available for everyone, no matter your circumstances, that this is the Anami guarantee that everyone can. And like I said, I think the big reason why people think they can't, or they just don't think they, you know, like, or they're told this misinformation that, oh, not everybody can, or they watch, you know, a few minutes of a video with a couple physical techniques and they try that and it doesn't work, and they don't realize that there's so many more dimensions to creating these experiences. So I'll say it again, everyone can. And here's Amanda as a fantastic example of someone who wasn't having any orgasms and having, like, in a much more sexually closed place, and now is a, like I said, a veritable treasure trove of orgasmopedia and like ecstatic experiences.
thank you so much. It's completely and utterly transformed my life in every way. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. So appreciate you coming on to share with us. How amazing is Amanda's story? What I especially love is seeing how during the experience of pregnancy, if we embrace and open to our sexuality, this energy prepares all of our reproductive organs for birth and motherhood, from the breasts to the cervix, and how if you build it, they will come. So Amanda gives a great synopsis of how to have breast and nipple-gasms, and I will summarize these steps here. So first of all, we talked a lot about the idea of waking up your breasts. And Amanda was even saying that the key to having her nipple-gasms and breast-gasms was this exact process. And I always give this advice to people on their quest to have vaginal orgasms. You need to wake up the vagina. Most women have numb vagina, and most women also have numb breasts. So this pervasive reproductive numbness is symbolic of all of of the internalized oppression and repression that women absorb into their organs. All of the taboo, shame, trauma, conditioning, judgment from yourself or others, if not confronted, lands squarely in the terrain of our reproductive organs until we clear them out. These are the issues in our tissues, as Wim Hof says, or the issues in our tissues. Ha ha ha. So, in order to unveil and unleash the true sentient power and orgasmic potential of the breasts, breast massage is your breast friend. I teach a dedicated breast massage routine in both of my salons for women, Vaginal Kung Fu and How to Be a Well-Fucked Woman, because it is so important. Even 5 minutes a day in the shower or anywhere is enough. Not only does the massage get your circulation flow going, it increases lymphatic drainage and movement, it clears out toxins on a physical level, and it also clears out emotional toxins. So there are several, no less than 6, energy meridians flowing through the breasts, including the kidney meridian. In Taoist thought, the kidneys are responsible for the overall production of sexual energy and the flow of female waters. As we clear and open up this meridian during massage, we are encouraging all of the waters to flow. Any of the defensive armor that we have built up gets gradually and lovingly melted away. Breast massage also encourages self-love, and it helps you to reconnect to your breasts and your heart. And because I consider breast massage such a staple in the Anami repertoire, I have just created our new line of Anami aphrodisiac body massage oils, including one for breast massage called Breast Bliss, which you can find in the Anami Alchemia online shop. So, second thing to look at is healing and opening your heart. So, whatever you consciously work on in the realm of emotional healing will help you to open up your heart and reduce any protective shielding that lodges itself into your breasts. In the Anami Alchemia online shop, I also have 2 crystal elixir remedies that are perfect for this. The first one is called Heartbreak Healer, and this is all about clearing residue from past hurts and emotional trauma and relationships and leaving you with a tabula rasa, or a clean slate. And the second one is our Luscious Trinity elixir. So this is 3 elixirs combined into one package, and it helps you to connect the heart and the cervix and to remove old deep trauma, including wounding from sexual abuse. And it activates the pathway from the cervix all the way through the heart and to the crown chakra. So third step would be the idea of self-pleasuring the breasts. So even if your breasts seem to be numb and unresponsive to touch at first, the way Amanda was describing and many women experience, keep at it. So as we said, even a short daily breast massage practice will begin to de-thaw them and open them up to feeling ecstasy and bliss. So the more time that you can spend with your breasts as a self-pleasure practice. So this is assuming that, let's say you start out doing the breast massage as more of a healing and opening and activating practice. And then eventually that leads into feeling more and more sensation and pleasure. And then you spend time in deliberate self-pleasure, just as you would with your yoni. And eventually they open to you and they become orgasmic pleasure centers of their own. So you can explore all different kinds of touch and stimulation and find out what works for you. Fourth idea, pro tip, get pregnant. So, just kidding, sort of. I do think that pregnancy lights up a woman's sexuality and sets it on fire if she is open to it. And this can be a divine portal to more easily access all the different kinds of sexual feelings as they are much more heightened in this state. So if you are in the midst of pregnancy or looking to become pregnant, then the idea to cultivate your sexual energy and work on this, then really, I did several podcast episodes over in the fall on wild, ecstatic, free birth and the connection between sexual openness and having a really easy, really pleasurable orgasmic birth. So these things are all connected. But I would say that we have this wonderful divine opportunity during pregnancy where these energies are so much more available to us, and it's up to us to take advantage of that. So all of these things are covered in my vaginal kung fu salon. I guide you through a full step-by-step breast massage routine to tone, lift, and enlarge the breasts and to activate their bliss potential, and my exact steps of how to bring on a nipple-gasm. The entire salon is designed to help you clear emotional and energetic blockages and to become the radiant, orgasmic, and ecstatic being you were meant to be. The salon opens next week. In the meantime, you can check out my free preview video series for VKF and find that at kiminami.com under Sexual Savant Salons, and then look for Vaginal Kung Fu. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe and also leave a review. And send someone else the gift of a healthy libido and an off-the-charts love life by sharing this episode with them. We'll be back next week, and in the meantime, many happy orgasms.